welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and I get asked a lot about my journey because I'm always interviewing everyone else. So today is my journey, so it's all about me.
How did you start out in the beauty industry?
I've always wanted to be in the beauty industry. That's all I can ever remember from when I was little. It was just, I don't know, it was just something I either, at that point, obviously, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in beauty. I just knew I was fascinated by makeup, by hair, anything to do with fashion. And I can always remember from being really, really small, anybody who came to the house would just get one of my makeovers. Didn't matter whether it was my granddad or anyone. If someone sat for long enough, I'd have a little bit of blusher on them. I'd be like doing the hair and different things. So I think it was just always that. It was just, to be honest, there was never anything that I wanted to do apart from that. As I was growing up in my careers lessons and everything, and my career teacher was always trying to persuade me to do something else because at that point there wasn't really any colleges in the northeast to do beauty therapy. And it just worked out that as I was leaving school, a local college started to do beauty therapy. But at that point as well, you had to do hair. So it was a 4-year course. So anyway, I had to get there, it was a ridiculous journey. I had to get 3 buses to get to wherever the college was. So I used to leave on a morning, get one bus, then another bus into town, into Newcastle. Then from there, one out to Wallsend, where the college was. So luckily, at one point, I did manage to get a lift there and back. But some days, I was leaving the house at 7 in the morning, not getting back until about 10 at night, but I just absolutely loved it. We did the course. At that point, we used to do strange things because there wasn't a lot of like lecturers out there who'd done beauty therapy. So we used to get taught by physiotherapists, by people who were high in cosmetic science and things like that. So it was a fantastic education. But at the end of it, when it came to leave, of course, there wasn't really any jobs in the area. So my dad, he always thought there was never going to be any money in the industry, and always didn't want me to go and train in beauty therapy. And I can always remember going to a job position that was advertised in the local paper. No one in the class told anyone else about this job, and everyone thought they were the only ones who'd seen it. Of course, when we turned up, everyone from the class was there for this job, which I didn't get. So when I left college, the first thing really was, what was I going to do? I got offered a job away in the Lake District, but I was a bit of a home bird, didn't want to leave home. So, and when you leave college, you always think you know everything. So I thought, well, I'll just start a business. So I didn't tell my dad that I was doing it, but I left college and then decided straight away to start in business. And at that point, it was going to be a beauty business, travelling around to clients' homes. But sort of the beauty side hadn't really caught on that much. So really it was hairdressing that I was doing most of the time. So my mum and I went off with leaflets, delivering leaflets to around all these homes. And then by the time I got back, because this is before mobile phones, when I got back, the phone was ringing in the house, and I was like, oh my word, it is going to work. I have got some clients. So I started really it was more of a hair business than hair and beauty that I intended. And I just worked and worked and worked. I really was, because my parents ended up splitting up as they were, as I was like sort of a teenager. And that, I think that was, I saw my dad working so many hours. He used to be working solid because his thing was always that he was going to work and work and work, and then he was going to retire early and just have this fabulous life. And that ended up being the detriment, I think, to like my parents' marriage when I was growing up. So my mum was always the one who supported us, like, and it was like you could do anything you want. And my dad was always the one who had the business head and was always, you know, that you need to be like sort of, you need to be self-sufficient or go and get a job. And so I didn't really tell my dad how successful my business was, because I always had this idea that I would just one day sitting down and show my brilliant books and how well I was doing. And then it was like a real shock to my system, because I can just remember this day that I was actually going to be late for an appointment, and my dad was a foreman joiner for a local brewery, and I was driving past and I saw him up the ladder, and I was going to stop, because obviously I only mainly saw him on weekends. And I was going to stop, and then I thought, no, I'm going to be late for my appointment. So I thought, right, I'll just carry on. I'll see him at the weekend. And that night, he just had a massive cerebral hemorrhage and died, passed away. And I think that was it was just such a huge realisation, because I lived with a lot of regret of like, I just wish I'd stopped. And at the time as well, by then I'd built the business up, and I was just so busy that like, even though my dad had passed away, I thought I'd just do what he would want me to do, and that would be just to carry on. So I just carried on working. And it was just a really strange time where I had all these clients, so I knew that if I didn't go to work, then I was letting everyone else down. So I just carried on. And I just learned so much from that, because, you know, I think I just realised that like work has to be work, and your life's a totally different thing. And I see so many people working so many ridiculous hours, and I just think, yeah, you just got to get it into some kind of balance. I always believe that that everything happens for a reason. And what happened was, very soon after that, I got an allergy to perm solution. Even though I used to wear gloves all the time, I got an allergy to perm solution. And I went to see this GP, and he was like, well, you're going to have to just pack in your career. And it was really strange, because it was just like a big sigh of relief, because I realised that like this business I'd built up wasn't really the business that I wanted. And I think I realised then that a lot of it, I was building it just to impress my dad, who wasn't there anymore. So I just literally looked for somebody that I could give the business to, and I gave the whole business away, which is like, now obviously I'm a lot more savvy at business, but yeah, I just thought I just want to like have a fresh start. So from there, I went and I worked in a jeweller's. I went and worked in a pharmacy, and all the time I was just like thinking, I've thrown away all of the training that I've done. So I thought, right, I need to start again. So I did some refresher courses, and then I decided I would start again. So I had a totally different outlook this time, and I started it again, freelancing, and built it again, but more on the beauty side this time, with just a little bit of hairdressing. And then after a year, I opened my first salon. So
Did you always want to have a salon of your own?
I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So I knew that I wanted to get back into the industry. At that point as well, I decided that I would do like a teaching qualification. So I trained in teaching. And I thought, well, if I'm going to start another business, because beauty wasn't so huge, still, I thought, right, well, if I can get a job teaching, then at least it'll bring in some money. And as well, there was a scheme at the time where you got £40 a week to start a business. So I thought, well, at least I'll have £40, if nothing else. And again, started. The only thing was at this time, while I was at college, I'd been and worked. It's called Ragdale Hall, which is like, it was a health farm then. During my college days, I'd gone to work there and I'd seen all of this fantastic equipment and all of these brilliant treatments. And of course, I had these dreams of like, yeah, I wanted to have all this fabulous equipment in my salon if I was going to have a salon. So I freelanced for a year, taught part-time in a private college, which was amazing. It was a great experience. And then decided I would open my first salon. I opened, I loved it, but it had no heating, it had no hot water. But so in the summer it was like an oven, in the winter it was absolutely freezing. But I absolutely loved it. So I had that for a couple of years. I ended up taking on a couple of members of staff to build it. One was this was before apprenticeships, but there was a girl who'd started on a school apprenticeship, school placement, and she used to bring in chocolate buns, so I thought she was good. so she was endearing already. So I offered her a position, and what we did was we practically made an apprenticeship where I worked with Newcastle College. She would go and do some training there, and I would have her in the salon. And we're still in touch now, and that's like 36 years ago. She ended up being my bridesmaid. So that was my first employee. Then I took on someone else who was qualified, and we just grew from there. But I can always remember going to see an accountant at the time, my first accountant, and because I was putting everything back into the business, he'd like said, well, you're not making any money, you may as well go and get a job somewhere. And I think that just fueled my fire to build the business faster and to follow my dreams. And so then we ended up buying some premises. I moved into some premises. At the time, the boyfriend I had at the time, I persuaded him to buy the downstairs of the premises because I could only afford the upstairs. So I had the upstairs, he rented out the downstairs. Then I ended up buying the downstairs from him. Then we extended into the above the property next door, and ended up with 10 treatment rooms and being the largest salon in the northeast. And the thing was that I just had these big dreams that we could win awards and do all these things. But I mean, the town where my business is just a small town. It's 14 miles from any city. So, I mean, it was like an ambitious thing to like think that we were going to win some national awards. But I was always been a real stickler for like standards, because to me, like, standards are just something that don't cost anything but make a huge difference to a business. And I always knew that we wanted to have the best education and I just want to have the best team. And after we'd been there a few years, we ended up winning UK Salon of the Year, professional beauty, large salon of the UK, which was ahead of like all of the city town salons. And at that time, there hadn't been a small town salon that had won. So I think that's when it started. We started to put the business on the map. So it was great.
Did you always dream big?
I always did dream big. I always think if you're going to dream, you may as well dream big. And like I say, one dream was to win UK Salon of the Year. And I can remember, I still do, write down everything that I want. And 9 times out of 10, I'm like huge on manifesting, love manifesting. I can always remember writing things like, I'd love to be a speaker at Professional Beauty. I'd love to be involved with like some of the organisations beyond like advisory panels and things. And and then it just all seemed to happen. And it's to say, it's a just, yes, I've always dreamt big.
Do you still work in the salon to this day?
No, I don't work in the salon now. We started off very much as a beauty salon and grew as a beauty salon. And we've always tried to stay ahead of like the curve. And as new technologies came in, we'd bring in new technologies. Now, when we won UK Salon of the Year, and then we won Employer of the Year and lots of other awards, it did put us on the map. But then what I found was I was starting to get asked a lot about like how I'd done it. And I was just giving away so much advice for free, which I loved. I absolutely loved helping other people. I was also totally fascinated by business. And I loved the fact that you could see, and I'd noticed from helping salons that you could have two salons that looked identical on the high street. One would be doing phenomenally well, and the other would be just all top show. And I got fascinated by how businesses get turned around from being on their knees to being successful. I then got the opportunity to work with probably one of the biggest guys who do business turnarounds, where they buy businesses for £1, turn them around and sell them for, in his case, millions. And from there, I had this idea that what I would do is I would look for failing salons, buy them, turn them around and have this chain of salons, which now I can think of nothing worse, because what I learnt was that I loved the fact of helping salon owners to turn their businesses around. So I spent thousands and thousands on business education and ended up stepping out of my business, put a lot of systems in place, and I've never walked back in. Well, I still oversee it, but as far as doing treatments, I just now have a team that run the business, and it's now 36 years since the start of the business. So so I just now love working with other businesses and helping them.
How many like salons do you have, or is it just the one?
I just have the one salon. In the past, though, I've had other businesses in the beauty industry. So at one point, I had a medical aesthetic company as well, where we used to have nurses and doctors that went out offering services within other salons. I've also had a training academy, but always just stayed with the one salon.
What do you love about the industry?
What do I love about the industry? It is, to me, the most rewarding industry. I absolutely love every element of it. I just think that there's not that many industries where you can take one element of it and turn it into your whole career. So although you train across the board in all different modalities, you can just take one element and be a nail tech, you can be a makeup artist, you can just be to do lashes or advanced skincare, you can travel the world, there's just so many different elements to it. But as far as an industry as well, I wholeheartedly just have always met the most amazing people. I just think it's loveliest industry, some fabulous people, some great role models, some amazing businesses. And yeah, I just love it all.
How did you end up with Beauty Directors Club?
I started Beauty Directors Club in 2018. And that was based around the fact that I just thought there was a need for it. If we go back a little bit further before that, I used to host network events in local colleges and bring in salon owners. And once you got everyone together, it was just such a great atmosphere, because I do think that in business it can be quite lonely, especially as you grow. And it's one of those things where you think, oh, am I going to be giving away my secrets to competitors and things? But I always think there's always enough business for everyone, and as well, everyone attracts different clients. So I started doing network events. Then from there, I wrote a book called The Little Book of Client Retention, which again was just really from being asked so many things about what I'd put into my business and what different things. So it's just a very quick, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this book, which someone can read in half an hour. So I did that. From there, I ended up then writing a 6-month program based on business turnaround, where someone could then turn their business around and systemize it to sell it for a lot more money, or just so that it would run a lot better. And that's called Salon Success Freedom. But then I realized that not everyone needed that level of help, or by the time someone had done that, they still needed some support around them. So I started Beauty Directors Club as a membership for salon owners, for established salon owners who are really passionate about standards, really want to help the industry and grow within the industry. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I just have the pleasure of working with the most awesome salon owners and skin clinic owners. And we do a lot of things together. We've climbed mountains together. We have events over in Malta where we have an intensive 3-day event. We run events for professional beauty now called Beauty Roundup, where again it's talking about inspiring stories and things. I just absolutely love it.
What about your books? Tell me about your books.
So I have a few different books. I have The Little Book of Client Retention, which is a quick book to read, where it's just 50 things to do in the business, which can help with your client retention. From there, I got asked to do a multi-author book called Your Best Life. And I loved that. So there was 20 authors in there, all talking about how they were living their best life. I found that so inspiring. And then I thought, it'd be great to do a one where we're talking about everyone's journey within the beauty industry. So I woke up one night with the name of the book in my head, and I thought, right, we'll call it Beauty and the Best. So Beauty and the Best was released during COVID, during lockdown. And with that, what I did was I took lots of the Beauty Directors Club members' stories, plus some other beauty professionals that I knew, and we turned it into a book, really just writing inspiring stories of how everyone's journey had been throughout the industry. That did phenomenally well, and the likes of Forest Software, they bought copies for all of their sales team, because they found that it was inspiring to help their sales team understand the journey that salon owners go through. So then, of course, we decided we'd do the second one. So we did Beauty and the Best 2. And then since then, I've done another couple of multi-author books just with other authors outside of the industry. But the Beauty and the Best books are just so inspiring, and I just love the fact that like it inspires so many people.
You have loads of roles in the industry. What are they?
As a natural progression, as I've developed throughout the industry, I've been asked to be on lots of different panels, and I do a lot of judging for the industry. So I judge for Babtac, Professional Beauty, Scratch Magazine. Absolutely love that side. But then on top of that, I am on the board at Babtac. So I'm a board director at Babtac, which is British Association of Beauty Therapists and Cosmetology. I also do a lot of work with HABIA, with the Hair and Beauty Industry Authority. I'm also on the advisory board for the Fab Service Stars, which I absolutely love, which are a little bit like the Michelin stars of the industry. And also as well, I'm on the committee for the Hair and Beauty charity, which I just love. You know, a lot of people think that the Hair and Beauty charity are giving money to people when they fall on hard times, as in with their business, but it's not. It's actually when someone has to pack in work or leave work because of something like a terminal illness or domestic violence, all those kinds of things. So the money goes to real good causes, and it just does so much great work. So I'm passionate about the Hair and Beauty charity as well.
What made you start the podcast?
Oh, the podcast is that, you know, this is something that I've wanted to do for so many years. But I always think things happen at the right time. And I think now is the right time because we've got the books, we've got the programs. So the podcast is just like a natural progression where I just love interviewing inspiring people in the industry. So it's I find it so satisfying, and as well I just love the amazing comments and feedback that I get every week every week when there's a new episode releases. I always get messages saying, oh, I loved that episode, I learned this. I get messages from people saying, oh, I listened 3 times, and I just find that it's just so inspiring. So I absolutely love it.
Do you run events, and if so, what are they?
We do run events, and that has been like, again, a natural progression from all of the other things. So we got asked by Professional Beauty to run some events, and together we came up with the idea of Beauty Roundup, which is an event that we host at all of the professional beauty shows. And we host an event where for solo operators and a one for salon owners. And then on the Monday, we have another one where we work with HABIA, bringing education and business together. It's just so inspiring to have everyone in the room together, especially what I've found is with the solo operators. So many of them from when we first started, and I think we're on our 5th or 6th round of events now, but we've found that, like, you know, especially with solo operators, they'll come and feel quite alone, and they've made lifelong friends or great friends, and started to really bond with like other solo operators. The salon owners as well, that is just such a great event, because it doesn't matter whether someone's, you know, just a small salon or whether they're a chain of salons. You know, we just find it so inspiring to hear from them. And what I do is I bring some of like our members from Beauty Directors Club who have done phenomenally well with their business, and I interview them and find out all of their golden nuggets of what they've done in the industry, kind of thing. And it just works so well. On top of that as well, we have events just for Beauty Directors Club or just for some of my online programs. And the biggest one we do is we host every year at the end of January an event in Malta. And now that is just like it's just a great time to be away from your business and just I take out some phenomenal speakers as well. We have the likes of Reef Iskun, we have, Andrew Hansford, those kind of people out there. And it's just phenomenal to have everyone and just pure time working on yourself and your business. And lots of fun too.
This is my next question that you ask all your guests. What are your golden nuggets?
Oh, so many golden nuggets. I just think that in our industry, to say, don't try and do it alone. I think there's so much help out there, and, learning from each other and learning together, to me, is definitely the way forwards. Because it can be quite lonely. And I think, yes, you've got your family and you've got your friends, but they don't always understand what you're going through. And quite often they're just humoring you. They're not really that interested. Whereas when you've got other people who've got your back and really supporting you, then I would say, always have lots of other people around you supporting you, who know what you've gone through or what you are going through.
What's next for you?
What's next for me is I want to continue growing Beauty Directors Club. I'd love the podcast to grow even bigger. I mean, we've had phenomenal success with it so far in the short amount of time that it's been running, and I just want to continue. Now I do quite a lot of one-to-one work as well with salon owners. I think for me it's just carrying on and continuing to grow in the industry, an industry that I absolutely love.
And how can someone get in touch with you?
Lots of ways to get in touch. So SusanRoutledge.com, that's my website. You can get in touch on Instagram. It's Susan_Routledge. I'm on Facebook too, LinkedIn. And I love hearing everything that everyone's got going on. So get in touch. Love to hear.